That says it all. Serpentine fire, earth, wind, and fire. Oh man, where do I begin, man? I mean, there's such a special reason why these guys are still here 40 something years later, putting it down, and just the catalog that has stood the test of time. Um, they are the greatest example of musical sophistication in the 70s and even going into the 80s. There wasn't one style that Earth, Wind& and Fire didn't do. Even if the basis of it was always funk and R&B, they were among the first to incorporate the serious African and Latin influence into the funk and R&B realm. I mean, they were always different, deeper levels of what they were doing musically. I mean, they were the dynamics, the range, the classic horn arrangements, the power of the drum. I mean, the greatest thing about Earth, Wind& and Fire is that the majority of the group's members are drummers. I mean, Philip Bailey was a drummer in Colorado, and a lot of people don't even know that because he's so known for, you know, them 5-7 octave vocal range and things of that nature that they forget that, you know, Philip Bailey's a certified drummer, as well as Ralph Johnson, Maurice White's younger brother, Fred White, of course, and of course Maurice White himself, who started out with Ramsey Lewis before forming the Salty Peppers, which later became known as Earth, Wind& and Fire. There's a whole series of things in that. I mean, there's funk, there's jazz, there's R&B, even the classical string arrangements. I mean, people like Charles Stephanie, the late Charles Stephanie, kind of brought them to that next level of arrangement and sophistication in terms of writing. Earth, Wind& and Fire just always had their own bag, and that's what made them who they are. I mean, it was deeper than just the outfits and the colorful dashikis and you know, the stage show with the pyrotechs and the magical musician stuff. I mean, Earth, Wind& and Fire just really brought a serious level of musicianship to the world. I mean, we could start off with albums like Last Days in Time, Open Our Eyes, the Spirit album, definitely All in All and I Am, which are two among my later favorites. Even the Raise and Power Light albums, because a lot of people try to write those off as their quote unquote, you know, commercial forcing input. But even with that commercial enforcing input, they still made some great albums. Even Faces was an incredible album that is largely overlooked. And in my personal opinion, I felt that the closest that they ever came to that in the last 20 years, as far as that album is concerned, was the Millennium album and the last one they just put out, which is an incredible album, Illumination, 3-time Grammy nominated. Incredible. They got back to the basis of what their sound was, the deep pocketed Verdine White bass, you know, just Maurice White playing the kalimba. And a great story about this, my mother bought me a kalimba when I was about 9 years old. And of course, I loved all instruments as a kid, but I didn't really recognize the significance of that instrument until I heard the Head to the Sky album, whereas Maurice White is playing the kalimba on right at the top of Evil and Head to the Sky and songs like that. You can hear his kalimba playing. So it was just always a deeper level when it came to Earth, Wind& and Fire. And there has not really been a band of that kind of magnitude since. They were able to be in a healthy competition with all the other great bands that came out of that period, such as Kool and the Gang, P-Funk, the Commodores, the Bar-Kays, the list goes on and on. Earth, Wind& and Fire was able to stand pinnacle, which is why they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, simply because of the fact that they created their own brand in so many different ways. And let's not forget that there was always a message in their music. I mean, it just goes to show you that they always had something to say. There was always something uplifting about the lyrics that they put in their songs, and the tracks just made you really feel good. I mean, in the musicianship, when you combine all that together, it just makes it really worth a while. So Earth, Wind& and Fire was definitely a strong influence and still continue to be on LAW to this very day.